Hello ladies and gentlemen, Phoe'Nix or Nix here, Nix for short here again, and I wanted to make another video. Before I do start talking about everything, I'm going to turn this little screen over because it's... Oh! No, did that just turn off the recording? It didn't, that was lucky. But, my camera's got one of those flippy screens, so I can obviously sort of turn it so I can see if the shot's all, perfect and cinematic. But when I'm recording, I keep looking at the screen. I'm doing this. I keep looking at myself instead of the actual camera lens, and yeah, it sort of makes it really awkward for I think it would make it awkward for anyone watching because I'm sort of looking at the screen and not the lens. People might think I have a funny eye or something. I'm just looking at the person about to murder them behind them. But anyway, that aside, hello again. So this is a continuation of yesterday's video, but instead of talking about the article by the sexist pig male that decided to list all of the different stereotypes that he thought that male and females in society should conform to, or society's stereotypes, which, as we all know, society's thoughts and opinions are the law of the land, and if you don't go by them, then you're just some really weird creature that needs to be put down and put out of the equation, basically, because that's just how our planet is, sadly. Oh, humanity, you make me laugh. So anyway, yeah, just ball of ignorance. Remember this, okay? You must remember this. This is good. This is good stuff, okay? This is a good life lesson here. It's good for the future. Any of you watching that I don't know, younger than me. But anyway, whatever. Completely out of topic. So anyway, I wanted to talk about sexism within the gaming industry, and just that topic alone. So it's basically a continuation of yesterday, because yesterday I was talking more about the article that I saw that rather irritated me, and I didn't really talk a lot about the gaming industry and sexism within it and within video games, which I want to touch up on because I feel that I should have said that in yesterday's video, but I didn't really want to make it like an hour long. And it's probably because I droll on so much like this that the videos are so long. But anyway, so yes, before we do get started, that's incorrect, by the way. That number, I really don't know. I feel so old now. But just had to have some coffee. I'm much more, for some reason, I'm much more into coffee now than tea. So that's not very British, is it? But whatever. Coffee it's liquid crack, basically. So anyway, yes, I wanted to talk about sexism within the game industry, and as I said in yesterday's piece, I'm pretty sure I said it, or at least I was talking with someone I've known for quite a long time, an old friend of mine, about that there needs to be more female protagonists in games. But we were talking about that in the comment section. It's very true, there needs to be a lot more female protagonists, and as we said in the comments, certainly not like Lightning and her over-sexualised clothing, which it's really sad. It's a shame that they did that with Lightning, because I mean, even in the first one, even in Final Fantasy 13, she had quite sexualized clothing, because that skirt was about that big, and her uniform just she was supposed to be secure. She was supposed to be like the police within Cocoon. I'm really not sure the police would be wearing such sexualized clothing like that. Her skirt was about that big. Her jacket sort of opened up enough, which ironically, except for she was wearing a shirt there. She was wearing a shirt underneath, which I'm actually shocked that they put that there, because knowing Square Enix, and especially Toriyama and his delusional love fantasy of Lightning, I'm not surprised he didn't leave that bare so you could see her cleavage. But you probably can in Lightning Returns. I've yet to play the full game, but I'm sure there are a lot of costumes that allow you to see her cleavage, because that just wouldn't surprise me. But going back to Lightning, she's just been, if you look Final Fantasy 13 and you look through the game, she's just been degraded as a female protagonist. And what is a great shame is that she really could have been the sort of, the fighting power for females within the gaming industry, and female characters, just that whole thing. She could have actually made a real big impact, and probably if the game had actually, if Square Enix, Toriyama, if you'd actually taken the time to write a proper story, character development, gameplay, if you'd actually really focused on all of those elements, that game would have been incredible. The story was, though it was half-assed, the story was like half-finished, that's for sure. It was a convoluted mess. that story was brilliant, and it's just a real shame they didn't keep to it, even though the sequels weren't planned. They should have kept to it anyway. It's just a shame that fell apart. Not only that, what sucks more is that, as I said, Lightning really could have been an impact upon the game industry, because Final Fantasy is one of the biggest franchises, at least to me, it's one of the biggest gaming franchises out there in the game industry, and for Lightning to have come along as the main protagonist, there was that chance right there. They had a big chance to make a huge impact for female gamers, for female characters, for females within the gaming industry. They really could have made a good impact there, made an awesome character that just shows how kick-ass females can be. It's just irritating that they completely destroyed and crumbled away that chance, and because being such a big game, the massive fan base that Final Fantasy has, and being one of the most gorgeous games in terms of pre-rendered cutscenes, I could just imagine how much more coverage, media coverage, whatever you want to call it, it could have gotten within the gaming world, and sort of maybe possibly out there more. If the story was that good, they might have turned it into a movie, and you would have a strong female protagonist. It just would have been great for the whole the whole sexism dilemma, and it would have hopefully have made a lot of changes within the gaming industry for more publishers and more game writers, more game directors to actually add more female protagonists, because Lightning was that chance to sort of just show how awesome, how awesome female protagonists can be, because as I said yesterday, the gaming industry is incredibly sexist and ignorant in its ways, and of course female protagonists don't sell, because female protagonists, or the main character, is definitely the make or break deal there. Though I won't lie that the main character is important, the gender of the main character shouldn't be an issue. That shouldn't even come into the equation. As long as the character is written well, you have a good voice actor, and the story goes along really well, it suits the character and makes that character look brilliant and awesome and super badass, then it shouldn't matter what gender they are. But, oh, game industry, just your ignorance. Hall of ignorance yet again. I'm probably going to bring this out every time I make one of these face-to-face videos, because it just has to be shown. This right here, this is the game industry, okay? This is the game industry. And so irritating. But yeah, and along with that, Lightning's personality, excuse me, itchy eye. Lightning's personality within Final Fantasy 13 was horrendous, absolutely horrendous. She was just this utterly cold character that just seemed to be all over the place, convoluted, didn't know what she was doing half the time, and she had no personality whatsoever. And it's a shame, because she has a really good voice actress, and I think that her voice actress has a very unique voice that you can easily spot out of the crowd. Just Lightning's voice actress is amazing, but it's a shame, because I feel that should be partly down to her as well, that she didn't give Lightning more life, because Lightning came across as a very stone cold character, and not just in stone cold as in, she was absolutely cold, but also she was like stone. She wasn't all that interesting. Neither were the other characters, to be honest. Neither were the others. I mean, they all lacked personality. They weren't very well written, so I can't say it's the voice actor's fault entirely. I have to say Saz is probably the best character in terms of the heroes, the protagonists in Final Fantasy 13, because he's just hilarious. You actually feel a bit of connection with him, because he makes jokes, and he's actually human. He doesn't want to go in. He doesn't want to go and fight. He knows how dangerous it is. He's very human. He's a very human character. When he talks about being scared of the thief, and how had the ability to kill you, and that Sarah may become a thief eventually, that perhaps it'd be the good thing to put her down. It feels like he's driven by fear, but also he's upset for Sarah, because his own son is a l'Cie. So it actually shows Saz is probably the most emotion-filled character within that game, and sadly to me he's probably like one of the ones that takes the back seat in the game, despite the fact he's part of the main six. And when the character with the most emotion in a game is one of the ones that takes sort of the back seat, you've got a big problem there. Moving on from Final Fantasy 13, I think I've spoken about that enough. Let's just look at some contemporary games right now that just don't seem to if there are any females in it, they take the back seat. But for instance, if we look at the stereotypical winning game character, and as I've said, sexism is just ridiculous in the game industry, and it proves it. It shows it because of all the male main characters. And if we look at the different main male characters, they're all muscly. For instance, Gears of War, Marcus Phoenix, and all. I mean, they're just what are they like? They're like walking steroids. They're not humans. They're just walking steroids. They got muscles that are like that big. It's ridiculous. Okay, it's absolutely ridiculous that they have muscles that big. You know, they're all manly and they got these deep voices and oh yeah, they kick ass. And that's just such a. I mean, that irritates me myself as a male because I haven't got muscles up to here. I don't have a problem with that character if there weren't so many of them. But if you, throughout the entire Gears of War game, every single soldier has these muscles that are like 50 inches high. Not one of them has actually got some normal muscle or none at all. And to me, myself, that's quite sexist because I don't feel that I should be represented by this complete lunkhead that has 50-inch muscles. So not only is it, I feel that the game industry is sexist towards females, but it's also towards a majority of males because it just takes this very ignorant thought that the only way a main character can actually be badass is if he's a male and he has like 50. He has a 50-pack right here, and he has 50-inch nails, 50-inch muscles, and he can punch through walls. I mean, we'll let Adam Jensen slide here because he was augmented, and it makes a lot of sense for him to have super strength and, you know, being able to punch through walls. In fact, I really like Adam Jensen. What's great about Adam Jensen, why he isn't sexist in Deus Ex Human Revolution, because he was normal. He was a normal human being, and at the very beginning of the game, he actually gets whooped. Okay, his ass gets whooped. He gets pushed through a wall. He gets smashed through thick glass that shouldn't break. He had it all in his face, and he got killed. He was a normal human. And that's why the Deus Ex is a good example of non-sexism, because he was a normal human. It showed how weak we are, that he died so easily. But then he got augmented. It was badass, but it was because he was augmented. It was part of the story. So it makes a lot of sense for him to be badass and punch through walls and have, you know, super strength and all of these different incredible abilities. But when you look at a game like Gears of War, they just start off as steroids. Okay, they're walking steroids instantly. You jump into the game, they're walking steroids. That's all they are. And every single male in that game is a walking steroid. Yes, eventually they brought in some females, but you know, from what I remember of my Gears of War experience, and I have Gears of War 1, 2 and 3, the amount of females was like, what, 4? I think I can remember 4 females. No, I remember 2, and that was from Gears of War. Gears of War 3, if I'm not mistaken. He had the blonde one and the black-haired one, and I believe there was one more in like the head branch. I mean, that's bad enough as it is. Gears of War being one of Xbox's main hitters, or it was back in the day, one of its exclusive games, and the fact there was only 3 females in it. That's atrocious. I mean, it's good that the main villain was actually female. That's cool. That's quite shocking because I can't think of many main female villains either. Looking at the villains in video games. I mean, let's have a think. Deus Ex, it's a male. Deus Ex, the main villain's a male. Skyrim, okay, yes, it's a dragon, but it's still a male. So Skyrim's main villain is a male. Mass Effect, that's a guy. Yeah, that's a guy. What's his face? The really weird blue alien. I'm just looking up at my games up there. Resident Evil 6. Yep, that was a guy. Let's think of some others. Sorry, I'm just looking at my games. Fallout New Vegas. Pretty much all of the main villains, all of the possibilities of the main villains in the games, those were guys. Fallout 3. Which I can't remember all that much. Yep, the main villain in that was a guy. Does anyone else see a pattern here? Grand Theft Auto 4, that was a guy. Oblivion, that was a guy. Viva Pinata, the main bad guy in Viva Pinata, guess what? Is a guy. Saboteur, it was a guy. Bladestorm, it was a guy. And I think that Bad Joke is doing Nuts and Bolts. No, it wasn't. That was a female. No, yeah, it was. That was Gruntilda. Probably. I mean, wow. So out of all of those examples, one bad guy or one main villain. See, that's the problem. They're known as bad guys, and most people will instantly call them bad guys because they're just all of the villains are guys. And even if there are some villains that are female in the games, they're usually really low. They're lower tier. They're low in the hierarchy. So it's not a fight for sexism there. It's not. It's not a stand against sexism if they're lower in the hierarchy. There are not many female villains at all. In fact, as I said, bad guys. Most people are going to say bad guys because most of the villains in video games are guys. And again, would it kill someone to write as a female as the villain? Like, honestly, I don't see how having a female as a protagonist or a villain is actually going to change the game and make it crap. In fact, I find that female villains are actually much cooler than villain males. Probably because there are so many bloody villain males out there that it's so bland now that it's as dull as a butter knife. Okay, there are so many male villains now. It's just getting so dull for me that it's a butter knife. Okay, I can no longer that's that's not a good action right there. But I'm sure you understand what I'm saying here. Because what really is going to crush the video game industry for adding female protagonists and female villains? Nothing. I don't even understand the fear that putting a female as the main character, even as a villain. I'm pretty sure that they're probably fearful about making a female villain. How is that going to change the game industry in a bad way? It's not. It's going to actually turn it into a good way. Not only are we going to get some actual fucking diversity for starters, but it's actually going to wash away the whole sexism issue that the gaming industry has. It's just incredible. Wow, yeah, my brain. It's just incredible that there are none, and I can never see the reason why having a female protagonist would ruin a game. As I said before yesterday, character development, story development, the storyline, and the gameplay. That's what's going to make or break a game. Okay, the gameplay. Probably the most important thing in the game, believe it or not. Sorry, there was a car passing. Probably the most important thing in the game, and these publishers are worried about putting a female at the front of the game. If it's a good story, if it's brilliant, if it's fun, enjoyable, and immersive gameplay, I cannot see a female ruining the game. Okay, the gender of the main character shouldn't matter whatsoever. And I'm sure a lot of people will probably, some of those that are negative towards it, go, well, if it doesn't matter, why can't it be a male? Probably because there's like 50 billion male main characters out there, okay? And a female would be a nice change, bit of diversity, and I'm fidgeting while I'm talking, that's a bad habit. But there needs to be more female protagonists, honestly. What's wrong with the video game industry? And where was I going to go with this? Because my brain exploded just a few seconds ago and I'm trying to catch up now because, yeah. Looking at Assassin's Creed, has there ever been a main female character? No, there hasn't. In fact, there's one character in Black Flag that I thought was a female, but it turned out to be a boy. I don't know why I brought that up, I just found that quite hilarious because there could have been a female, but no, it was actually a boy. But it really did sound like a female. And I haven't played that game, it was just someone was playing it while I was talking to them over Skype, and now I'm really going off topic. So, I just can't see the reason why the game industry is so fearful about having a female protagonist within a game, because, as I've said, gender shouldn't really matter when it comes to a video game. There needs to be more female protagonists because, as I said, diversity. And the problem is, the video game industry is getting so stale now. The games that are coming out are so stale, they're so recycled, just repainted and recycled, and it's getting so stale and boring. There just needs to be some new, it needs to be some fresh ideas, and female protagonists are one of them. It's just, how is that not seeable? How can the game industry not understand that? And I had this really good point that I've forgotten. I've forgotten what I was going to talk about. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say really, because I forgot my really good point. Maybe some coffee will help me. Oh, yep, nearly choked on my coffee there. That's what I was about to talk about. So if we move away from the game industry and we move to the gamers, now as I pointed out yesterday, I believe I did, a lot of gamers are quite ignorant. I'd still say 90% of gamers are ignorant people, very ignorant, and I call them gamers though. I believe that they're not gamers. I believe that they're casual players. I don't call them gamers because I see gamers as people that love playing games, don't love playing Call of Duty or Battlefield. And I'm just going to say it now, I don't feel that those are games. They're not really games. It's just the multiplayer experience. I don't feel they should be classified as games anymore since they're so recycled and repainted. It's like the same crap over and over again. You're just adding glitter this time, or you're adding blue paint instead of shit brown. But a lot of those gamers are really ignorant towards the whole concept of playing a female protagonist, because that's not going to make me manly, is it, if I play a female protagonist? And there are even some people that said they're uncomfortable playing a female, and I don't understand why. Why would you be uncomfortable playing a female? You're playing a game that's set within a fictional world, okay? It's not like as if you're actually that female. It doesn't... I find it hard to comprehend why people find it uncomfortable playing female characters. I think there was... one argument about Remember Me is because she actually kisses a guy during one of the cutscenes, and that would be awkward for male gamers, wouldn't it? Why would that be awkward? It's a normal relationship. If the female protagonist kisses a guy, then it's like a normal thing, isn't it? Because it's just a guy, a girl kissing a guy. What's the difference? It's not like the player is the girl kissing another guy. So it's not like the guy gamer is kissing another guy, it's his character. And though even if the story was immersive, I don't believe that the gamer would suddenly feel like they are the character. The only way I'd feel that they felt like they were the character is in a role-playing game. It would be a lot more understandable, I guess, if you're playing a role-playing game and you control the female, and though that she has a set name and she has a set background, you get to choose what she does. You get to, you control her thoughts and opinions. Instead of killing that enemy, you want to kill that one because you believe as her she would kill that one instead. You're creating that character. I think that it wouldn't be a bad idea. I was discussing it again in the comments section. It wouldn't be a bad idea for an RPG to have a set character as a set female. I don't feel that would be a bad idea, because as long as you were still able to make the decisions for that character, that you moulded that character into what you wanted them to be. I don't see it would be a bad thing for a female to be the set character. In fact, I would like there to be an RPG where it's a set female character, because I guess what I was told is that Forbes magazine said that having a choice between male and female is cheating in terms of sexism. Because most people are going to go for male, aren't they? Of course, because the ignorant amount of game as well. But I don't necessarily see it as cheating. But I can imagine that most of the ignorant gamers wouldn't play as the female because they feel like they'd be less macho, which is absolutely pathetic. And if you seriously don't want to play female because you're going to feel less macho, I'd say that you're less macho because of that, because that's kind of pathetic. And I hate the whole macho definition anyway. That's pathetic in its own right, because most males in this world are quite ignorant. But moving off from that, it would be nice to have an RPG that was a set female. In fact, I would love if, like Elder Scrolls, if Bethesda actually made the next character to be a set female, because it's such a renowned series, it's such a renowned franchise that everyone, a lot of people know it's a very big selling game, and if for them to make the main character a set female, but of course you still get to choose everything, you still get to choose what that character does, obviously their thoughts and opinions, what they're going to major in, etc., etc., then it's still an RPG. You're still role playing that character. None of the decisions have been made for them. None of their character traits have been set for them. You're going to make them. You're going to mould that character into what you want. But it's going to be a female, because I feel with a game that's as popular as that, and the female character was and the main character was set as a female, then of course people are still going to go and buy that game because it's Elder Scrolls. It's an Elder Scrolls game. There's so many fans out there that would still buy it because it's Elder Scrolls, just because of the name. And I feel that having a female as the set character that you couldn't change to male, you had to play female, I feel that it's going to hopefully change all of those ignorant prats out there that that are in the game in universe, and hopefully change their opinions on playing a female. Because seriously, you're playing a fictional character. It honestly shouldn't matter if they're male or female, because it's not going to change your manliness. It's manliness. Just saying that. You know, honestly, that is such a pathetic cliche that only the ignorant go by. Oh, I'm so manly. But yeah, it's not going to. Hopefully it would change people's minds and perspectives on the fact that playing a female isn't going to kill you. It isn't going to make you less manly. It's a game. You're playing a game, okay? You're playing a story. When you go and watch a film like Sucker Punch, okay? Sucker Punch is like this awesome action film, okay? I'm sure there's a lot of guys that love that film, okay? You're watching females. The main protagonist is a female in that film. Do you feel less manly watching it? No? No? Well, there you go then. I mean, I must say that film is still somewhat sexist because they're wearing schoolgirl outfits and the skirts come up to about here on their legs. So I still feel that would be sexist. But, you know, it's not going to kill anyone to play a female character within a game. And I think that having the main game like a Elder Scrolls game and a set female character would actually hopefully change some perspective on things. Though I don't feel Bethesda would do that because, sadly, the whole male-female choice is a very set, a trait within the game. It's a trait that they probably don't want to lose. It's something that's happened in all the other games. You get to choose. But I feel that would be a real game changer, if you pardon the pun there, because that might actually change a lot of perspectives on playing a female. Maybe even, I mean, there needs to be some new IPs anyway, because a lot of the IPs that are out at the moment are very cliche and recycled. But even, I mean, I hate to say it because I think Assassin's Creed has been milked to death, but it wouldn't hurt them to make a female assassin, you know, a female assassin as the main protagonist for the next game. I know they've already put it in the works because got to milk that money machine more, huh? Until it spits out dust, until that milk is just powder, which is, yeah. But it just, if they made a female main character for that would be great, because again, that would just change the perspective on things. Because to me, I feel like a female would be a much better assassin than a guy. They're much more agile, much more, you know, flexible, can pull off more moves. I think that would be so much cooler to play a female assassin than to play a male assassin. It just comes across much better to me as a concept. Female assassins sound a lot more deadly. I'd be much more scared of a female assassin than a male one. And if I'm not mistaken, there was, how many female assassins were in Assassin's Creed? I mean, I've only played up to Brotherhood, but if I'm not mistaken, the only one that I've seen is one that was one of Ezio's ancestors and died off ages ago. So there's not even really a female assassin in the game. There's a female thief in Assassin's Creed 2, but that doesn't count, of course. So it would be nice if at least one of these main staple games would change it up a bit and actually have a female character, because there's nothing wrong with having a female as the main protagonist. It's not going to kill anyone, okay? It's not going to ruin that franchise. Just as I said from the examples, how many male protagonists are there? It's just, to me, it's really tedious and boring to have to keep playing a male, and not only that, to have to play a male that's this ridiculously, stupidly steroid muscular male as well, because that in its own right is sexist towards males, in my opinion, because not all males are like that. But I think I've spoken about this enough. I could probably think up. I usually end up doing these videos and then thinking of more stuff after I finished it, because that's just how it works. I don't know. There's some sort of effect of sitting in front of the camera that sort of kills me, kills some thought patterns in there, and then I forget things that I wanted to say. But I think I've covered enough. Hopefully, my rant here will get you guys thinking about all of this and add some comments. Then we can have a little banter on the comment section. If I do think of anything else, I'll just make another video, because I could probably think of more stuff for this, because just sexism within the game industry is so big right now. And just to talk about Japan, as I said yesterday, if you look at a lot of Japanese games, they're very sexist. Lightning Returns, as I said yesterday, just the way she's dressed. and in Final Fantasy 13 and 13 too. The way Sarah is dressed in Final Fantasy 13 too. Okay, now she was already dressed in a quite provocative manner in Final Fantasy 13, a sort of one of those eyebrow raising moments where you're just like, what is she wearing? Because her skirt, again, just like Lightning, was like that big. I don't know if it's like a family thing that they do, that the two Farron sisters decided that they had to wear short skirts. But suddenly, ironically, in Final Fantasy 13 too, Sarah, when Noel appeared out of nowhere from his little flying comet, suddenly her dress changed and she went from this sort of normal clothing to this very, very revealing dress, which isn't really a dress because it didn't really cover much of her skin up. Literally, her arms were bare, her legs were bare, very short skirt, here was bare. She had like almost no clothing on. And that's just another thing in talking about sexism. If we just scrap the whole female protagonist thing, not only that, but the way female characters are portrayed in video games nowadays, it's usually very sexist. It is usually very sexist. Again, Lightning Returns, just the way she's dressed, the amount of different costumes you can get her to wear that are sexist in that game. Even the ones in the demo were sexist. Like, you could see part of her leg around here, you could see her cleavage. It's ridiculous. And then, what other games? Final Fantasy 12, my most favourite game in the world. Even that is very... I can certainly put that down as being sexist. The way Ash is dressed. She wears a red skirt about that big. She wears this sort of very see-through lace shirt over the top. Basically, you can see a lot of her body, and the same for Penelo, who's like 15, 16 years old in that game, which is a bit, so she's wearing some sort of skin-tight dominatrix suit, actually, if I think about it, except for they coloured it in blue and yellow to make it less dominatrix, I guess, which kind of makes me just sort of an entrance into the Japanese mind, which kind of freaks me out. And then you look at the male characters, Barsh and Varn, the 16-year-old with painted on abs, but it's just sort of this whole, they must look super strong and the females must just look really pretty and fan service, and you could see all of their skin, and that's just literally the portrayal in a lot of video games, is that the male characters are all manly and muscular, and they can punch through a wall and they can knock you out in one punch, and then the females are just, let's just really sexually degrade them and put them in clothing that basically you can see right through, and they can hold the little daggers, they can hold the weak weapons, and of course the men get the giant buster swords that can chop your head off in one go, and it's just that train of thought within the game industry that needs to be eradicated. It's horrid. And even going out of video games, the gaming industry in Japan is sexist in its own right. Not just the video games, but just the way they treat their female co-workers in Japan. And in fact, I was listening to a podcast, the 8-Bit podcast, which you should check out. But a female working within the game industry actually committed suicide because of it. So it just sort of gives you an insight into how bad it is over there. But I'm quite sure that even over here, it's quite sexist within the workplace of the gaming industry as well as in video games. Females seem to be portrayed as weaker, and they just seem to be portrayed as some type of meat. Women just seem to be portrayed in a lot of video games as meat that you have to sort of jerk off with your eyes. Jerk off to with your, like that eye candy. That's what you could portray a lot of female characters in video games as, eye candy. Vanille would be a good one, with the whole really over dramatic moanings that the moans that she continues to do throughout the game. The fact that her Lassie mark is the only one under her skirt on her thigh, and that's the only mark there. Everyone else has got them on their arms. Lightning, of course, has it here, which is no surprise, I guess. And then Vanille wears this really weird skirt that, again, is really short, and it has a gap here just about where you can see her buttocks, which, again, that's quite questionable. But I think I've given enough examples, and I think I've ranted long enough. I'm not even sure. Let's have a look. How long has this gone on for? I'm not quite sure because... I'm running out of time. I'm going to have to go.